Hello everyone and welcome to Ukulele Underground University Ukulele 102 week number 9. So we have 2 more classes left for this university course, alright? So today on Ukulele 102 we're going to be going over composing your own songs. So this is going to feel just like how we did with our mid-session break. So during our mid-session break we took all the stuff that we learned from the first 5 weeks and we put them together to write a simple song. But this time, we're going to be writing more melody-driven songs. So we're going to take all the things that we've learned from the past few weeks, like bends and mutes and octaves and we got inversions and all those things, and we're going to be putting them all together to create a little bit more intricate song. Not like how we created simple songs during the mid-semester break or mid-session break. But we're gonna add a lot more cool stuff. All right, so you guys ready? Once again, my name is Aldrin Guerrero. I am your instructor for today, and joining me is Mr. Kahai, the legend Fergan. Say what's up, Kahai.
What's up?
And welcome back to the chair, Mr. Aaron, the voice Nakamura. What's up, Aaron?
What's up?
So Voltron is complete. All 3 of us are here, and let's bring you Ukulele 102 week number 9. So let's go over what we did last week. So here's a little review. We went over bends, tremolos, and expression. All right. So we learned a couple of new techniques, plus a way to use those techniques to kind of squeeze out all the emotions from our song. So we learned how to use those techniques to squeeze out emotions. We'll also learn how to modify notes to fit the song. So, you know, we can modify them either by bending the notes, so modifying the you know, that note and what that note actually is. So instead of C, can go up to C sharp or D. And we also use that we use different things like mutes to kind of make it different the way that the note reaches our audience ears. So instead of hitting it like this, we'll be hitting it like this. So, you know, we're creating different things and we're squeezing out different kind of emotions. For example, going from this note to that note, or this note to that note, will be kind of plain. But then if you just take this and just squeeze out every single emotion that you can, that's when we use things like bends, tremolos, and expression. Also, we learn how to play faster rhythms using tremolos. So we learn how to do a proper tremolo, peace sign, thumb resting on the ring finger, going down here, and creating those faster rhythms. All right, and how did you guys do on those exercises? Let's go over those exercises right now. So the first exercise that we showed you folks, this is the exercise A. It goes like this. So it's been a couple weeks, but let me see if I can pull this off. It goes like this. So as you can see, I'm using my thumb right here because we learned how to mute the top strings, right? So we learned those in not last week but the week before, on how to mute our strings with our left and right hand. So what I'm doing here, I get a lot of emails, a lot of people saying, well, when I do the bends, my fingers are always catching, you know, on the notes above. So if I do this, you can kind of hear that C string catching. So in order to stop that from catching, I use my thumb at the top. So when I do the bend, you don't hear that anymore. But if I take this out, so during that exercise, if you guys want to add that on there to make sure everything is playing nice and clean, go ahead and go do that. And then we showed you some tremolo picking as well during the exercises. So it goes like this. So we went over those, and one more exercise. It goes like this. So this is the one I'm a little bit unfamiliar with. So we're, you know, learning about those slides and making sure that we're reaching those notes as we should. All right, and if you guys want to add a little bit more expression, you know, go ahead and either play that louder or slide it a little bit more. squeeze out all the emotion from there. So think about phrasing as well. And we're going to go over phrasing today too. All right. So any questions on week number 8 and those exercises?
No.
No?
Just people coming in.
Right on, guys. So let's get down to business. Here, week number 9, here are our goals for this week. We want to be able to compose a melody-driven song. What that means is the melody is going to stand out so much, that's what's actually going to drive our song. Instead of like, oh, I'm going to be playing these chords and I'm going to sing this. I might play, you know, like little bits and pieces here and there. But this time we're just going to make it all about the melody. All right? The second goal for this week is we want to add new techniques to our composition. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take what we did during the halfway session break that we did, where we just did some simple picking patterns, but we're gonna add the new techniques that we learned from these past few weeks to our new composition. So we're gonna write a whole new composition. We're gonna pick out some nice and easy notes, and then we're gonna squeeze out all the expression out of those, all right, by using the new techniques that we learned the past few weeks. Number 3, last goal for this week, is to come up with 2 or more parts to a song. So we learned how to create inversions, and with those inversions we can create more than one rhythm part. So if we have 2 rhythm parts going on and one main picking part, we can do just that, and it'll sound a lot more. So Aaron wasn't here the past few weeks, but here's something that you can do. Let's Aaron's going to be playing just a simple C, F, G. And we can come up with 2 or more parts of the song. It'll sound like this. Or maybe we can even make it different by finger picking. So that's what we're going to be doing for this week on week number 9. Like I said, it's kind of reminiscent of that midway break that we had, but we're going to add the techniques that we learned from the past few weeks. All right, here we go. Any questions on our goals? No.
We're all good.
All right, first off, laying a solid foundation. So we're going to start from the ground up. So every carpenter, every architect needs to start from the ground up, and we're going to be creating this beautiful, beautiful composition. It's kind of going to be like our house, right? We're going to create that. So first off, we want to analyze the major and minor chords. So we're choosing the chords to fit your song. Choosing your chords to fit your song. So let's take a look at all the chords that we have available. So the chords that we have available depends on what key that we're in. All right. So say we're playing, let's take a simple key like C, and we want to analyze the major and minor chords of that key. And here's some tips that I've found whenever I'm writing a song. The one chord from our chord family is going to be we're going to refer to that as home. 4 is going to be like the destination. 5 is the way home. And minors are obstacles along the way. Now, what does that mean? So when we take these chords, when we listen to them carefully, if we attach one of these words to those chords, and we attach a label to those chords, it's gonna help us better visualize the song. All right? I mean, a lot of people are like, oh, how can you visualize a tune? This is how we're going to visualize the song. You want to listen to how these chords sound like and visualize a home or a starting place. If you don't want to think of home, you can just think of a starting place. 4 is the destination. 5 is the way home. Here we go. So in our C, in the key of C, 1 chord is a C chord. 4 is F. 5 is G. Okay? So when we listen to C, nice, and it makes us feel like home. You can really see home. See yourself in in a starting point. I like to call home or home base, whatever whatever you want to think about. But I like to think about home. So if we're at home and we go to a destination, listen to what it sounds like when I go to F. It's gonna sound like it's not gonna sound like where you started. It's gonna sound like somewhere else. right? So when we reach that F chord, it's starting to sound like, okay, we went somewhere, right? And when we go to the G, that's the way home, which then when we play C, it sounds like we're back to where we started. So I'll play it without, without my commentary here. So home, destination. Let's make our way home. All right, and I noted here minors are obstacles along the way. So for example, if I'm in C and I want to get to F, so that's where I'm going, minors are something that we can toss on our towards our direction to kind of distract us or create little obstacles going along the way. So in the key of C, we have 3 minor chords. It should be A minor, E minor, or D minor. So if we go, say, from C, and we go, we throw in a wrench to our plans, and we add in an E minor in there, this is what it sounds like. So we're at home. An obstacle. We have to get through this dark, scary forest over to Grandma's house. And we have to make our way home. And then back home. And you don't have to use E minor, you can use any of the other minors. For example, let's use an A minor. So it goes A minor. We'll find it at Grandma's. Let's make our way home. And you don't have to make your way home from Grandma's. You can throw another obstacle in there. So for example, let's do C, then one obstacle before we get to our destination, F, and then maybe we'll go D minor, and then the way home, and then C, and then back home. Ready? 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, home. E minor, destination, one more obstacle, way home, home, right? So when you add a label to these chords, it's a lot easier to write songs that way. So I want you to visualize the story that you want to tell and use these labels to kind of get you to a place and then come right back home. I mean, when I was in 6th grade, they basically told us to, like, oh, I want you guys to, or our teacher said, I want you guys to, to write your own, like, little storybook. And in the storybook, they gave us kind of guidelines like, okay, you need a place to start, and you need some kind of conflict to make your readers more intrigued of what's happening with your character, and then you need to bring it home, which then is the conclusion. So this is the same thing with music. We want to be able to start somewhere, present some kind of conflict or whatever, or some kind of destination to go to. It doesn't have to be a conflict, but we have all of these to work with, and those are just the chords. So just with the chords alone, you can almost lay down a perfect foundation of what you want your song to sound like. And that's, when we do that, you can that would just be maybe the verse. You can come up with something completely different for the chorus, and then maybe something completely different for the bridge. And if you look at things this way, and if you think about songwriting like this, it becomes a lot easier. Okay, any questions? Okay, my analogy for that. But an example, like I said, a simple 1-4-5 progression is simply home, go to destination, and then come back. And then you can toss those little obstacles along the way. All right.
That's a lot of pop songs are 1-4-5.
Yeah, a lot of pop songs are just 1-4-5. For example, a specific song about the daytime time of the week, the end of the week, during the day, it sounds like this, or before 12 o'clock. If we were to strum it. So that song, it kind of, we can think of it like this. starts out like already with a problem, already with an obstacle. He gets presented with an obstacle, and then he makes his way home, and that's where it feels familiar. And if we just kind of take this, you know, listen to it, and then visualize what it looks like. Right, so I want you guys to start kind of thinking of things that way. Take all your, you know, every single whatever scale that you have, and take that key and play all those chords in that key, and think of it like this. You're gonna come out with some awesome songs. All right. Question before we move on.
So wait, with that one, you didn't start with the.
No, it's not
root.
home. It's
yeah.
like so starting off with an obstacle already. It's like kind of like a Marvel movie where like Thor is already like in battle with that big gigantic fire guy, and then like, you know, he makes his way back to Asgard, and he's back in Asgard. You know, it's kind of like a Marvel movie, that end of the week morning time song.
So, and then coming back.
And then coming back home. Yeah. So that you don't, and it's a great example because you don't have to start home. Home can be, you know, where you end up. Like maybe you're lost and trying to find your way back home, or maybe you don't even go home. And you know, on some songs, I don't even know if they make it home even. So it's totally up to you and whatever story you want to tell.
When or like I guess it's like Hawaiian songs too. Like kind of use that thing where it doesn't necessarily end home, but like they end with a 5, right? Or like something to, so you're anticipating already like going back.
Yeah, yeah. So and we'll show you more tricks. So this is just the the first thing we wanted to show you, because from here, just from this first page of week number 9, you can already come up with like some stuff to to write, some songs to write, and then we can add all the things that we learned. Here we go. Consider an extension. All right. So the 1 chord, try using a major 7, an add 9, or experiment with any other note. So just from the years of playing music, I've learned that these 3 extensions, or 3 extensions that that you can add to your to your 1 chord or your home. So home, instead of going C, maybe I'll add an add 9. Maybe I'll add a major, or maybe major 7. And you want to make a label for this as well. For me, I like to think of major 7 chords as if like I've just come home from this amazing journey or wherever I went, and I'm just back home like kind of exhausted. Or just, with a feeling of accomplishment. Like, man, that feels so good to have done that. So it's not just, I'm home, but it's like, almost reflective back at the journey. So if we were to play that end of the week song. So it doesn't, just end in a, and I'm home. Where it's like, I'm home and I'm so glad. It's like, whew, it's almost like coming home and just taking a nice like deep breath in and out. Like, that was an awesome journey, Add 9. It's kind of like an unfinished like home, but I feel like I have more stuff to do still. So like, these 3 chords right here signal home, or these 3 notes creating that C chord signal home. But with that add 9, it seems like there's more to go. All right. Experiment with any other note, meaning you can play the C and just add like any note from the scale. We went over this during our finger picking exercise or finger picking week for 102. So maybe G minor, G, and so just to add a little bit more character, right? You can put your own label as to experiment with any note, because you're gonna have what 7 different notes to choose. No, 6 different notes to choose from, and depending on which note you choose will kind of change what it what it sounds like. So maybe D minor. minor, G, and then C with an F. Alright, so I went to that C with the F, and then went straight to that C. So it's kind of like an unfinished business, and then ending on that C. Alright? Now, the 4 chord, try using a major 7, so same thing, or experiment with other notes. So notice that it didn't put an add 9 to that. You can use an add 9, but I feel like add 9s are sounds a lot better than the 1. You can, for the 4 chord, instead of F, we can do F major 7. Ooh. So it's like you get to that destination and you're like, ah, I'm finally at this destination. It's the same thing as your major 7 on the 1. So maybe, let's see, I'm gonna have to change those. So maybe this. No, let's see. Go from C. Let's go from C. And then to the F major 7. Just so that your chords don't sound too repetitive with just F and then G and then C. You want to add a little bit more oomph and a little bit more variation to how those chords sound like. You're going to be affecting the voices of the chords. That's what we call it, the voicing of the chord. So since the voicing is going to be different, it's going to create a different image to your audience. All right, and a different feel to the story that you're trying to tell with your song as well. Okay, any questions on these? The 1 and the 4 extensions. So we're taking what we learned from, I believe, week 6. And, you know, we're doing all these things using what we learned in week number 6.
Did you, because you said that you could play with add 9 for the 4th chord.
Yeah.
But, like, so could you demonstrate how, like, that might not work? Could you play a...
So this is F. So F add 9 would be that. So you can go... See, so that doesn't really sound like the destination because it's like you're at the destination with 1 foot out the door almost, you know, like because you're the add 9 to your 4 chord is going to be the 5, the root note for the 5. Therefore, it's like 1 foot out the door kind of thing going.
It's like
home, yeah.
It's already so close that it's hard to tell the difference.
Yeah, between that, the 4 and the 5. So you can do it, but like I mentioned, so here's the F, add 9, so you know 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 would be that G note, which is the root note of our 5 chord, which is G. So if we have that note, it's kind of like 1 foot out the door. We can, you know, if that's what you're going for, go for it. But these are just suggestions. These are not set in stone. These are just things that I've noticed as I write more, write more music or write more songs and stuff. That's what I've been kind of trying and doing. You can experiment with your own. That's why I left it right here. Experiment with any other note. And sometimes, to be honest with you, don't let anybody hear me say this, but it doesn't even have to be in that key sometimes. All right, that's where it gets a little bit interesting. Yeah, if it works, it works. You know. So like I've seen people go, whereas this G sharp is not in the scale, but then you kind of use it to bridge over to that A, to the A minor 7. So from the C going to the A minor, but A minor 7. So you're getting that C augmented, before you get to that A minor. Yeah. So don't worry about that. But sometimes experiment with some notes that try things. Right. So be like, oh, but Aldrin said, Aldrin didn't say. He said, play whatever feels good to you. Any questions? Okay. Next up, last thing is the 5 chord. So with the 5 chord, we all know, you can use a 7 chord or experiment with other notes. So instead of G, we can always do a G7, and that kind of reinforces that way home a lot more. So if I showed you guys this before, if we do C, F to the G7, and if we just end on the G7, it seems like it wants to lead over to the C, because these two notes right here are just a half step away from where they're supposed to be on our 1 chord, which this note resolves to this. This note resolves to this. And that's why it's creating that tension. So it's like you're stuck in the way home. Alright, so in order to make that way home sound even more like a way home, so this kind of like maybe the just a regular road versus the yellow brick road. And it's like, oh man, that's definitely gonna lead us somewhere. Alright, so you can use that or experiment other notes. So here you can maybe add like what would that be? Add 4 or sus4, yeah, sus4, this sus4, so you can do stuff like that. So whenever you hear musicians do like some crazy things like, that's just them manipulating those chords just like how we taught you. So experiment with other notes. That's the kind of stuff that you'll get. So, you know, me playing this G, maybe I want to add that A in there. Then G, and then with that C. So that's really all it is. Taking that, that chord and adding notes from the scale. So maybe... Those are all parts of our scale, and when we add them, it creates, you know, it creates kind of a driving rhythm feel. All right, so experiment with those other notes and get, you know, you'd be surprised of what kind of results that you get. Questions?
Would you like, so with the 5, you said that you might want to use the 7th for the 5? Mm-hmm. But then with the 1 and the 4, you might want to avoid using 7th for that?
Yeah, we use major 7ths.
Not dominant 7th.
No, not dominant 7th, no.
Yeah. Because it just like with the 5, the dominant 7th like adds to it, but then with the, if you did it on the 1 and 4, it would kind of like make
unless you're playing
blues.
unless
you're playing blues. Unless you're playing blues, yeah.
So.
Because those notes would not be in that scale, I guess. You know, so for example, F or F7 would include that D sharp or that E flat, I guess, in the key of F. E flat. That E flat note is not in our C scale. So that's why, I mean, you can, like I said, do whatever you want. Don't be like, oh, Dream said that we can't. That's how blues is created. So,
by breaking the rules.
By breaking the rules.
Yeah.
But here are the rules, just in case you guys are interested, and then go do whatever you want after that.
Like the kind of like the weird instances are where you'll find like the different genres, right? Like blues and jazz and all the like the ones that don't necessarily follow the rules.
Yeah. All right. So with minor chords, you can use minor 7s. So nice and simple. You know, with that. So instead of playing A minor, we can play A minor 7. That, you know, I don't really hear too much of a difference, especially ukulele. But some people, you know, swear by it, especially if you're using a G minor chord shape and playing that minor 7 chord shape. It's gonna sound a lot different. So if I'm in the key of F, for example, and then to the G minor, and then to the C, that's my home, my obstacle. And then just go home. Be like, I don't want to go anywhere. I like came across this big boulder. I don't have rock smash, so I'm just gonna go back home. So it sounds like
that's
this.
not the.
Huh?
In the key of F.
A in the key of F. So C would be the way home. So because B flat is 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, destination.
Oh
so
yeah,
there's no
so
destination.
like the way home.
Yeah. So. It's like I'm running away home, back home. Roadblock, and I'm gonna go back home. But if we add minor 7, that's kind of where it blurs the line of maybe, you know, this obstacle was my destination. You know, so it's things like that. Sometimes it makes a big difference, but sometimes it doesn't. So in this case, say I would use F to the A minor 7, which is A minor is also part of our minor chords for the key of F. It can sound like this. versus regular A minor. So sometimes it makes a big difference, sometimes not really. It's totally up to you to add minor sevenths to your minor chords, or experiment with other notes as well. And that's how songs like On Fire get created, because you know you're an A minor and then all of a sudden you're adding these notes. You know, that's how those songs are created. So experiment with other notes. Okay, questions?
Somebody in the chat was asking, just for you to go over really quickly, the difference between the major seventh and the dominant seventh.
Okay, so major seventh is so for example C, right? We have 1, 1, 3, 1, 3, 5. So those are, you know, the 3 notes we need for a C major scale. A major 7 would be just adding the 7th note in our scale. So if our C scale is, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So here's 1, 1, 3, 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, 7. So that's the C major 7. A regular C7 is going to be 1, 3, 5, flat 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we're going to flat that. So we have 1, 1, 3, 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, flat 7.
Yeah. It's weird because they call that a C7.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
in notation and stuff, right?
In-
like
yeah,
C7.
like
It is. It's confusing.
Yeah,
But
and then when you say major 7, it's
Yeah, it's like implied. Like when you say like C7, I don't got the answer for that.
Yeah,
it's
it's
like
weird,
that's been, you know, like
So
established for a long time.
so
I don't know it
C7
either.
is actually like C flat 7
Yeah. Yeah, C chord with a flat 7.
with a flat,
Yeah,
7,
with a flat 7.
and then a
C
C major
is
7 is the actual
that
7.
just a 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is weird.
But like that's why it's like well, you said like those notes aren't a part of the scale, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like-
So because that would be B flat. So the B flat is not part
not
of our
part of
C
this,
scale.
yeah.
So that's why I omitted, you know, using 7th chords for or 1 and 4, because 1 and 4, the 7th note, the 7 chord note is not part of the scale.
But like yeah, like with 5s, you see that used a lot. The 7s, right?
yeah.
I think it's just because it's like it adds that extra tension and it's
Yeah.
just easier to play, right?
Yeah, just like I said, you know, with this, you know, your notes are kind of like just you know, just
It seems like they're more bunched
half
together.
step away.
or something.
Yeah.
And then when you resolve, it
Yeah.
like unravels.
I don't want to say the T word because I don't want to get questions about it. It's like the tritones that, you know, that will lead us back to the 1. But
Yeah.
let's not get into that. That's a whole nother lesson. All right, no questions other than what Aaron asked. Okay, here we go. So inversions. 2 or more. We can use inversion to create a second rhythm ukulele part, just like how me and Aaron showed you earlier. We can even use inversions to create a third part. So we don't have a third. Actually, do you have your ukulele, Kahai?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna do a barbershop trio right now of ukuleles. So Kahai is gonna play simple C, F, and G, then back C. So C, and then Aaron's gonna play the next inversion up. So play this like C, F, and G. And then we'll play the next inversion up. So you can create 2 or more parts. Yeah, a third part, just like how we showed you 3 ukuleles going on, and it's not like we're just banging away on that same C chord with 3 ukuleles. You know, if one ukulele is playing it, and if we have just a trio, you know, we can use all the other ukuleles to create different voicings for that chord, and we don't have to all play the same chord. I don't know, I mean, I'm sure most of you folks have been to like ukulele jams and stuff. Ukulele jams, totally fine, because you're just kind of jamming out. But if it's a song that you write you don't really want like 50 ukulele players like playing the same exact chord with the same exact rhythm. It's gonna sound a little too repetitive and monotonous. So we want to go the different directions, and not to say that you can't do this during your ukulele jams, but you know, you can add a different voicing to make a bigger spectrum of sound.
I think like Alan said that like, or when we talked about this before, he said that that's something he'll like do is like just play inversions because everybody else
switch
is
it
playing,
up. Exactly, yeah,
like
switch it up a
chords.
little bit. Okay, so solo. If we're writing a solo piece, we can use inversions to reach higher position melody lines. So if I'm playing solo, and my melody line, for example, is so we can do maybe C, the regular inversion, and instead of, so we got G chord. Maybe you can do this inversion better. So, and then back to this. So we can use those inversions to get those notes that that we have. So if we were to play that G chord and then reach that, it's almost impossible, right? So it's good that we have inversions so that we have those same chords to use as backgrounds, but up here on this part of the neck.
Like if they want to get more in depth with inversions, we just put out that bonus video too.
Yeah.
So it's like week 6 has an
Bonus.
extra video on it just about inversions and chord families.
Yeah, because I remember week number 6, we had too little time. Like our time was not long enough to be explaining all that crazy shenanigans. So we did an extra video to further explain inversions.
And it's exactly like what we did right now, where it's just like showing you what inversions you can kind of pick and choose and play.
All right. So, you know, all the things that we've taught you throughout this entire 102 is kind of building up to this. And we want to be able to show you a structured way of writing these songs. Even if you're playing in a group, or even if you're playing in a solo, you'll be able to follow these kind of guidelines into writing your own songs. Okay? Next up, one note at a time. So coming up with the melody line. So we have our background. That was just to lay the groundwork. Now, and that's why it's important. The groundwork is important. You have to work from the bottom up. One note at a time. Same rules apply from the mid-course review. Use one note, usually the root note of the key, and play it in different rhythms to create a melody. And then add more notes one at a time to build that melody line. And the less notes, the more easy for the audience to connect. So here we go. Aaron is going to be playing C, F, G, C once again. C, F, G, and C. So one note at a time goes like this, C. So that's my rhythm. Like I said, play it in different rhythms to create a melody. So that's my rhythm. I choose to go bop, 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 bop. Now you can add more, you know, I'll add one note at a time. Maybe I'll add the second note there. So 1, 2, ready, go. I'll add one more. Now that I have, you know, more notes, I can slowly build up on that melody line. All right, and by kind of starting off with the kind of rhythm that you want your melody line to sound like, adding those notes in there becomes a little bit easier because you want to be to have an idea of how you're gonna play those notes. Because just by presenting yourself with all the notes in the scale, it gets a little bit overwhelming. Okay, but if you take it one note at a time, it gets a lot easier. All right, and if you're one of those, you know, solo players, you can still do that same thing. You know, you can play that same rhythm pattern. And then play that with your chords. So if it's C, I'm a soloist, I'm gonna do that same thing. I'm gonna keep that note in there while playing my chords behind it. So notice that it's there. Now I'm gonna add one more. That's when you're kind of gonna figure out ways to work around that. Now I'll add one more. That's when those inversions come in. Check this out. That's just C, F, and G inversion, back to the C. And that's what I meant by, once I start reaching here, playing that note with that F chord is going to be a little bit difficult. So what I'm gonna do is play this F inversion, and then reach that note. Nice little chord there. And then G. So I can't be playing this G. I can't be doing that, right? So, alright, so for those of you solo players that still want to come up with a melody and adding those chords behind it, start out with the rhythm. So since my rhythm is, I came up with a strumming pattern that'll give me that same rhythm. So, and if you notice, what I'm doing is I'm adding accents to when those melody lines are. And in between, I'm just kind of doing a small little soft strum so that it keeps the melody going. So the melody drives the tune, but the rhythm keeps everything going, and you're still in the right tempo. It's made up on the spot, you know. I just followed the rules that we had because I wanted to stay home, go somewhere, then head back home. Nice and simple. All right. Any questions on this so far? And to make this point a little bit more, to drive this point a little bit more, the less notes, the more easy for the audience to connect. So you, as my audience, can pretty much, hum that tune. Da 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 da. Da, 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 da. It's not like a it's not like a lot of notes and stuff. It's just 2 notes or 3 notes, something that we can kind of we can sing back, and it works better that way. I think some of the most iconic melodies are very, very, very simple. So.
It's like what you were doing was like this is like scatting, right? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Like you just because some of my favorite songs, even from like ukulele players, like Dragon from Jake, it's just those 3 notes.
Yeah, so it can be fancy.
Yeah, it can be fancy with as little notes as possible, so you're here. So as fancy as he makes it look, or that it actually is, but the notes that he chooses for his melody line, not that fancy. So if we broke that down, that's all he's playing. Bum. Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 notes. Yeah.
But even your songs, Bandito
like,
Tyler, right?
It's like 1, 2, 3, 4 notes. No. Nice and simple.
I know I saw a video talking about music.
Yeah.
And they said that you do simple melodies like that to make it so it's like easy for people to remember, and then like it builds a motif in the song.
Yeah. So
like whenever you play it, they're like, oh, I know that part already. Even though it's their first time hearing the song, they know that part, like just because it's like, oh, it like, I think that's why like jazz or like classical music where it's like there's a bunch of
Yeah.
notes. Like people are like, I'm kind of like lost. I don't know where it went.
Yeah, and I mean, like, body surfing, love body surfing, and people are like, oh man, the song sounds so intricate, so crazy. But like, every single chord in that song has just 4 notes. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the next chord, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then next chord. So and even the melody lines is, it's like 3 notes. Nice, simple. Some people are like, oh man, I really want to learn body surf, but it's so hard. It's like, if you break it down, 3, 4 notes, all good.
Isn't like probably like one of the best examples of like a really simple melody is one note samba, right?
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
one note.
That's like somebody who just like, I like that rhythm.
Yeah.
So it's like, but then that's where they like where we were talking earlier, where they add all the interesting parts with the chords and the extensions.
Yeah, creates that motif. Yeah.
So,
any questions?
oh, like if they want to practice like more of that style that you're kind of just showing to, right? That's where like all our solos are.
Yeah.
Because that's basically what it is.
Yeah.
It's like, it's melodies, and then you add in
Chords behind it.
and
Yeah.
all the other stuff. So.
Yeah, because one of our main goals for this entire series and course is to be able to tackle anything on the Ukulele Underground archive. So now you kind of understand how solo ukulele works, so you can go take any one of our solos over at Ukulele Underground Plus and try those out for yourself. All right. Next. Choosing the best way to go from one note to another. Here's where our techniques will go. Based off of your one note at a time melody line, you can choose which notes can benefit from techniques. So bridging 2 notes using bends, slides, hammers, pulls, so on and so forth. We touched up a little bit of this during that mid-term break, but now we're going to be adding bends and such. All right, and we're also going to make a note feel bigger by adding an octave or harmony. So that's something new that we learned. Adding the octave to that, or we can alter the sound of the notes using mutes. All right, so let's try this out. Once again, Aaron Nakamura is gonna go C, F, G, C. Ready? 1, 2. 1, 2. Ready? Go. C, F, G, and let's just establish our melody line here. It goes. If I slide it, it goes. Or maybe that's where we can kind of bend it. Or nice and simple. Like even when I did that, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4th notes. So whenever I add one more to the 3 notes that I have, people are like, oh man, it's nice and crazy, and it sounds interesting and intricate. It sounds super hard. It's like, no, it's not. It's just adding one more note. It's 4 notes, sir. All right. So let's see. You can use any of your techniques in order to make that melody line a little bit more driving. And during the midterm break, we kind of showed you folks how to go from a verse to a chorus, how to write a verse of the song, the chorus of the song, and then put them together. So you're gonna do the same thing, but you're gonna be adding all these bells and whistles. All right.
If they or I was gonna say too, like before you shown like too that if they want to do what you just did, but they don't have somebody like Aaron to play along with them, just use your phone and record yourself.
Yeah,
right?
and record yourself, or just just play that melody line. So if I were to do, and if I want to do, still kind of do it as long as you're strumming that rhythm of the melody line, figuring out a rhythm that works, and doing that same same thing.
I think that's where like a lot of people come to us and they're like, oh, but how do I practice it, or how do I do it? And it's like, oh, you can, like, it's
just fool around. It's your song. You can.
It might sound scary, but like, do it just by yourself. Just go for it.
If you want a little bit dirtier sounds, we talked about, that kind of dirty muting or left hand muting. You can do. So you're like muting it with your thumb. And that's just the C gust. So looks fancy, but we actually showed you guys how to do that. We showed you how to do those left hand music. And how to do all that crazy stuff. But you can add that to your songs. All right. Next up, whoa man, we have to keep going. I can't believe how long I've talked. Okay, fairy dust. This I like to associate with Mr. Brian Tolentino. So Brian Tolentino, one of the best ukulele players out there that that will enhance the best ukulele enhancement to any song. He'll just like play those chords as a background, but he'll add little things in there to make it that much more intricate. All right. So first off, you can add fairy dust to your song by changing up your phrasing. So the volume of not just your background but also your melody line, adjusting your volume during the song can create different feels for the song. So all the feels you'll get, much more feels. Much feels, less non-feels. In music, we use the terms piano, mezzo forte, and forte. So softest to the loudest. And I'm going to show you folks how they look like here. Do you have a marker pen?
There's a bag right there.
Oh, there's a... Excuse me. There we go. So, I can't believe I didn't think about the marker pen. And I just want to show you guys what it looks like in written music. So piano... will be the softest. So if you see, say these notes, we have la 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 la. So like that, okay? If there's a P underneath here, that means you're gonna play that note very soft. And MF means mezzo forte. That means you're gonna play that in a medium volume. And last but not least, we have a forte, will then be the loudest. And of course, you can make a combination of these. So if you want it to be even quieter, you can do maybe a pianissimo or PP, PPP even. Make it very, 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 very soft. Or mezzo forte, or maybe a mezzo piano. So think of this as just a halfway. So you can do mezzo piano, which is a halfway between a piano and a mezzo forte. Or you can go forte, you can go fortissimo, you can go even more forte, you know, loud, loud, loud. All right, and if you want to go, say, from piano to forte, and you want to create a nice movement going up, making it louder, you can go like this. So that's what you'll see in music. Piano to the forte, it sounds like it's getting bigger. All right, so just little visual for you folks so that you guys know what I'm talking about. All right, so how does that, what does that have to do with what we're doing? So you want to, what I want to give you guys, the advice I want to give you is make sure to start at a mezzo forte to allow yourself room for adjustments. Because if you're just banging away on your ukulele at forte, it doesn't allow you to be that expressive with it. Okay, so imagine, so this is Jake Chumabukura actually showed this to me, the little hand movements. So if say this is the range of your ukulele right here, this is the range. If you start here that loud, you can only get that much louder. So this is like the threshold of your ukulele, and this is the most silent it can get. So from like not playing anything, if you start here, you only have this much to kind of play around with, to be expressive with. But imagine if you start right here at mezzo forte, you have this much to work with and you have this much to go down. Okay. With techniques like that, you can make a lot more expressive songs. So Aaron Nakamura is gonna play CFG once again, and let's get expressive. So let's go from maybe piano, then we're gonna go up to a forte by the time we get to C, back to C. So it's like. So it gets a little bit more expressive, especially if I'm, doing a song like, with a lot more bends and a lot more expressive feel to it. So it goes, maybe if I have a... where I'm playing the rest of the notes piano, and I'm playing the other notes forte, just to make a, like that big impact. And the best example of this is if you check out our tutorial for Europa. It's a melody line. So it's basically all melody in that song, and you can use these techniques like going soft and going loud in order to make that song a lot more expressive. Okay, and like I mentioned, Brian Tolentino, master of this stuff. You'll only really hear him when he wants you to hear him, and it's not like he's not playing. He's still playing, but he's just laying down that nice rhythm work, and then adding some volume whenever the volume needs to be added. And we're gonna add one more thing in here. What we're gonna add is the length of each note. So phrasing wise, you want to make sure to play each note in its full value. Okay, if I cut it off too soon, then it's not gonna, it might not create the right feel that I want. So let the notes ring out, especially the main melody, okay? And try not to cut them off too early. And in music, we use the terms staccato and legato, from shortest to longest. And we want to use techniques like slides, hammers, and pulls for legato, and mutes for staccato. So staccato sounds like this, like with mutes. Because it just hits your ears and it comes right out. Okay, just. Okay, and legato, we're playing the note and we're playing out to its full value. Nice and long. So if we just did, or maybe even if we slid it. See how you're kind of cutting off that note after you reach that slide? You want to be able to play the full value. Okay, and if you want very short, once again staccato. And if you want to use pull-offs or hammer-ons, so just any way to make that note ring out a lot longer is better. But it also depends on what the song calls for. Okay, for the most part, we want to be able to to hear the full value of the tone. If I were to if I were to sing like a ballad, for example, if I sang that ballad and I cut it off too soon, the audience is gonna know. All right, or maybe like White Sandy Beach, if we of Hawaii, when we get to that part, if we cut that off, of Hawaii, it's not gonna be the same. So you want to be able to ring out that that note as intended. All right, so make sure to take notes of how long to hold each note. All right, One more thing is random finger picking. This is what he really excels at, Mr. Tolentino. Bridging and ending phrases. At the end of each phrase, the rhythm can utilize finger picking to drive that phrase where it goes next, i.e. home or the destination, obstacle, what have you. Random until you start, until the start of the next phrase. So this is what I mean by that. If we're going from C to F, you can do random finger picking to reach to that F. So you can do, and then, or, and it's not enough to be considered as a melody line. It just kind of helps out that you know, the chords from going forward, or the rhythm pattern from moving forward. If you guys check out Ka'au Critter Boys, Mr. Troy Fernandez does a lot of this in the background. So Ernie Cruz Jr. will, you know, keep the rhythm solid, and him on the ukulele is still on rhythm, but he's adding little fairy dust to you know, to that song. So let's see, play me G, B minor 7, and C. Let's go G, B minor, and C. Things like that. Just little fairy dust. So it's not necessarily melody. It's not, you know, right in front, but it's just helping out move that melody line across. I'll play a little bit louder so you guys can hear. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Not enough of a melody line, but just enough to drive it to the next chord. So what I'm doing here is that I play that C, and I'm just kind of walking back down, because I know the next chord that he's gonna play is a G chord. So I'm going from C. All I did was walk down the scale back, so that when he hits his G chord, I'm hitting that G note. So it's part of that chord. It's not going to stand out too much, at least it shouldn't anyway, and it'll add so much more to the song. If we just play the song normal, it sounds like this, without no fairy dust. It sounds like this. Very standard. Just sounds a little bit empty right at there at the end. Now let's add some fairy dust in there. Just things like that, you know, not exactly melody lines. I didn't really do too much fancy here. All I did, just play that C chord, did some random finger picking, just made sure that I ended in that G note when he's in the G note. You can do the same thing for, you know, for B minor or C. So let's play that again. I'm gonna go from G to C maybe. 1, 2, 3, 4. Things like that. Okay, you can add little fairy dust to make sure that the rhythm patterns and the melody line gets driven a little bit more. Okay, let's see here.
So like Alan said that it seems more like it's leading from one note to another than it's random, like finger picking.
Yeah, well, random finger picking. I'm doing this thing here, but the notes that I'm kind of playing are going from that like C, the last note of the last chord, to the first note of the next chord. So C, it can be random. I could go up. So it doesn't have to like walk down like I did, but that's just the easiest way to get there. Or it can be random, like as random as that. It doesn't have to be you know, a specific set, like, oh, I have to, you know, go down here, or I have to go up here. It can be anything. It doesn't even have to start at that C, maybe. Let's see it out. Yeah, doesn't have to even start out in C. It can just be any one of those notes that's in that chord, preferably, like I said earlier, preferably the root note, but you can do whatever you want. And just make sure that when you're bridging or ending phrases, you're going to end on one of the notes on the upcoming chord. So that last one I did, I ended up in this D, which is part of the G chord. And you can use this to help the melody line to move.
So Alan also asked, would these be considered fills then? Because you're just
yeah, fills in the rhythm, you know, and because while one person is doing that, you know, you definitely have the melody line either like by song, you know, like so you could be singing the melody line, these fills are in there, or somebody's doing some picking, and then the rhythm pattern person can still do those to keep the melody from being too stale. You know, you want to add little things here and there. Fairy dust. Okay, there we go. Last but not least, we have homework for you folks, and exercise A is just, you know, doing like piano to forte and then back to piano again. I think we did D minor or F and then G.
D minor.
Oh, D minor.
D minor.
So D minor, G, and C, just to kind of help you guys get the phrasing down for that. Exercise B is the we're doing legato and staccato. So let's do that A scale. What you need to watch out for this is cutting off that note too early. Like, see how those notes kind of end too soon? So they're ringing out all the way up until I hit that note again. All right, so make sure that that goes. And once you reach up here, we have staccato. All right. Well, do you remember what C was? Kahai is the one who's doing the exercises.
It was C, F, G. I think you're strumming, and then you're.
Oh yeah. So it goes a C. Kind of gives you some ideas onto what those fills, you know, can be. All right, so make sure you check these exercises out over on UU Plus. So printable tabs and example videos are available on UU Plus. So check those out. Make a video so that we kind of know your progress here. Alright guys, so there you have it. Those are your exercises for this week. So make sure you get to those. Let us know how you did. You can post your videos over on the UU Plus forums and we'll give you some feedback, alright? So next week is going to be our last week and we're going to be working on improvisation. So now you know how to create songs, but we want you guys to create stuff on the spot. So that's what we're going to be doing for next week on improvisation, where we have a little bit of structure, but everything is pretty much it's coming right out of the brain. So anything goes. Next week here on Ukulele on the Ground, Ukulele 102, week number 10. Have a great one on behalf of myself, Aaron, and Kahai. We'll see you next week. Aloha.